right, I think I did it. Hold on. Here we go. All right, folks, stand by. COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Okay, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to freak out. This is the second night in a row that I have tried to go to air, and just as I hit go to air, all my stuff goes to black. So I don't know what's happening. I'm going to have to get in touch with the people from EPCAM and say, what the heck gives here? But we are on the air. We are back. Welcome to any newcomers as well tonight. This is Coping with Isolation. It is our chance as a community to get together and to try and end our day on a positive note, because this is all about positivity. It's about encouragement. It is about good advice. And I know that things get tough. And you know what? I don't think they get tougher for people other than parents, especially for parents, I should say. Parents and kids, and tougher kids as well. So we have the remedy for you tonight. Coming up in a few minutes. Now, she is calmly standing by, and I appreciate that, Sarah. Sarah is standing by. Okay, she's supposed to be standing by. There we go.
I'm here.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Okay. Sarah is a clinical social worker. Sara Marlowe specializes in working with children and families. As parents no doubt know already, isolation is it can be a time of tension. Sarah's going to be talking to me about solutions such as, and you're going to talk to us in a bit about stop, drop, and breathe, Sarah.
Yes. It's interesting that the technical difficulties have happened both nights. When last night was mindfulness, and tonight we'll be talking about some strategies to use right in the moment. So stop, drop, and breathe.
So right now I'm going to stop, drop, and scream. But no. I'm going to stop, drop, and breathe. All right. Stand by, Sarah. We will get back to you. Here is hoping this camera still works. It does. All right. This is going to be a very interesting night, folks. I don't think you're going to want to leave, because the mistakes are going to be happening fast and furious. One thing that I was thinking about today, though, is that a lot of times parents don't get thanks for what they do. They don't get thanks from society in general. We're all about our frontline workers, our healthcare workers, our service workers. Yes, we are. But I think we need to take a pause tonight, and I think we need to say thank you to our parents.
Mom, Dad, for juggling working from home and always being there for me, for teaching me how to cook, and for the awesome family game nights and the epic Nerf battles, for keeping me happy and healthy. Thank you.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my mother, who is being an absolute superhero during these unprecedented times. I know things are tough, but you've always been such a caring person and given me all the attention you possibly could. And even with everything going on, you're still helping me with homework and getting groceries and keeping me safe. And I just want to say thank you for being such an amazing mother.
And I just wanted to say a big thank you to my parents for being there with me during this time and entertaining me and helping me with homework, because this time is really difficult for everybody. And my parents are the people who are always there for me. So I just wanted to say a big thank you.
I'm Vivan.
And I'm Renee.
We want to thank your mom and dad for all the love and attention during this time.
They've been there every day. Showing their love and support for us means a lot, and we want to let them know
how much we love and thank them for everything they do.
We love you, Mom and Dad.
Love you.
Yeah, I think that we always have to remember that sometimes a lot of people that need thanks don't get thanks. So if you are a parent, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. I know it gets frustrating sometimes, and Sarah's going to be talking to you about what to do when it gets so frustrating. Thank you to single parents. When I was, when my kids were young, I was able to my wife was able to hand off kids to me. I was able to hand off kids to her. So, it was a support system. But a lot of times, single parents now are faced with not only raising a child by themselves, but also continuing working in some cases, and now helping to take care of the child's schooling. So that can be a very tough thing. It can be a very tough thing, and that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. We're going to be talking about stop, drop, and breathe. And we're going to be talking about taking a bit of a compassionate break, a self-compassionate break. We're going to talk about that as well. We love to celebrate here. We love to mark days, especially when it's in isolation of celebrations. So it can be tough, right? Here we go. So I met this guy actually a few years ago. Hey, Jonathan. Very happy birthday from me, Mom, John, Queenie, and Nikki.
Thank you so much.
Teachers celebrated their students this morning with this parade through a Brampton neighborhood, a chance for the teachers to see their kids and the students to know that their teachers do indeed miss them. And I'm pretty sure they speak for teachers everywhere. I think the kids miss them too. Mario is home from the hospital, and that has his family celebrating. He's battling leukemia, and his family says he's a warrior. Special thanks sent out to the malignant hematology team at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center. Who or what are you celebrating in isolation? Let me know. I'd love to pass it on to all of my viewers. Wait, hold on, Lynn. This is breaking news. Daughter in labor right now. Yay! Daddy is home with the other 4 kids. Shout out to Sarah. Sarah. Wow. Okay. Please keep us posted throughout the program. So daughter in labor right now. Good luck. Congratulations. That's some tense moments. And we need to do a bit of business as well. We remind you that we're doing free commercials for businesses that are open right now and need to let people know they're open, because in some cases it's the only way they're going to survive. So we need to support local, we need to support small businesses. So here is this evening's Biz Bump. This is neat. If you love Indian food but not the heavy oils and cream, Bowl of Karma is your answer. They cut down on many of the unhealthy elements so you can eat their food without guilt. This is how they cook their tandoori chicken. Bowl of Karma, 1036 Kingston Road. That's right at Vic Park. Order right now on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and on Foodora. All right, we are ready to talk about parenting. We are ready to talk about kids and how the two sometimes can conflict and can go hand in hand. Sara Marlowe has been waiting so patiently. Thank you very much. We've been busy sort of sorting out all the technical messes. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I'm really happy to be here as well. So thanks for the invitation. It's a topic very close to my heart.
Let me tell you a little bit about Sara, folks. She is a clinical sociologist, a social worker, I should say.
Social worker, yeah.
Social worker, author of 2 kids' books, My New Best Friend and No Ordinary Apple, available on Amazon and through Indigo. Her website is mindfulfamilies.ca, and we're glad that you were having some time to spend with us tonight. Thank you, Sara, for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also a parent of 2 children, so I think that's sort of the biggest thing right now for me. My partner's just getting them ready for bed, so we'll see what happens.
So we are seeing dynamics being tested here. We're seeing even the strongest of parent-children relationships being tested. What's happening?
Well, I mean, parenting in and of itself can be challenging at times, and then you add this backdrop of what's going on. There's so many big emotions that all of us are feeling, right? As parents, as children, teenagers. of uncertainty, of fear, of kind of not knowing how long things are going to be happening. And then you put us all together in one space, and we don't kind of get the breaks that we do when we're not physically distancing, when we're not at home together, to kind of rejuvenate and recharge, which is one of the most important things that parents need. And then there's these pressures of, for some, working from home. And my heart really goes out to people and parents who are actually out working and can't be at home, because I imagine that's adding extra challenges. And then the idea of, or the need to be homeschooling.
Yeah.
Or kind of that. So here we are working, at home working, and then trying to be providing some sort of education. So put that together, and that is really stressful. That's really, really stressful just in the day-to-day interactions, and then sprinkle into the mix not having time to recharge, to take a break.
It's tough too, because, we may get frustrated, and we may be tested and get our patience tested to the limit. But there are some situations in which this could actually be dangerous. That we have some families, sadly, where tensions have always run high, and this could really put it over the breaking point. So I want to begin really by letting people know that you do not have to take any abuse. You do not have to take someone who is hurting you. Yeah. You just don't have to take it. So there are these crisis numbers that are running here that reach out for help. Tell me a little bit about that and what you're hearing about.
Well, I mean, certainly we've been seeing in the media that there have been increased incidents of intimate partner violence, so between adults, and some discussion of increased incidences of children getting hurt as well, because there's the stress is just, it's so high. And if there's already stress sort of in the home, or some challenges around managing difficult behaviors and relationships, then we add this on top, and we are ready to, we're almost really more activated and can really lose our tempers at times. Yeah.
We're in a very tough time of isolation.
Yes.
I don't want to say the beginning of isolation was easy, but I think it was easier because of the novelty of it. It was different.
Absolutely.
We were making plans. We are going to get through this, so we were taking control, and we were doing things purposely. Now, we're like more than a month into it. It's getting boring. It is getting anxious because we don't know when it's going to be over, and if it is over, will we have a job? Will we be able to stop social distancing? So this all adds into the mix and makes it very difficult.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And and sort of not knowing when this is going to change. Sure, there was the novelty. My son was telling me when they were told at school that they were going to be off for 2 weeks after March break, some of the children were cheering, that they were really excited to have more time at home. And certainly as time goes on, we know that children really thrive on routine and predictability, and that is really hard. I can speak as there's two of us in our home. We are able to co-parent, but we're also both working at home, so it's really, really hard to be keeping up that kind of routine and scheduling and predictability, and just social interaction with other caring adults that the schools really provide. So it's getting hard. And it's supposed to be spring. I've heard it's coming. But this past week has been quite challenging as well, just to be getting outside in a way that's safe with the weather being so cold. So it's, like people are getting antsy.
I can tell you, I know how I'm feeling. I know how I'm feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling, in some cases, anxious. And I know why. One of the situations arises where we have kids, whether they're too young to realize it or still not able to verbalize how they are feeling.
Yeah. And there also may not be sort of practice in the home, too, around coaching children with feelings and to express how they're feeling. And so absolutely, especially with younger ones, that they may be having all of these emotions inside, like fear or sadness or just worry, not really knowing how to articulate that. We were talking earlier, kind of joking that my almost 5-year-old isn't likely to sit down, say, I'm just feeling kind of really sad right now about is able to do things that I'm not able to do. So to relieve this feeling of sadness and disappointment, I'm going to go break his Lego, right? But
yeah, exactly.
What she does is goes and breaks his Lego, and really, it can be even harder for parents in that moment to kind of keep our cool, to not get reactive to that behavior of our child kind of misbehaving or behaving in a way that we're not wanting them to really stay focused and centered, and then to be able to connect with what might be underneath. What are those feelings? And they may not have the language, but we can support them with guessing. Oh, sweetie, I imagine this is really hard right now. And it's really hard that you don't have friends to play with who have similar interests or things that they like. And I can see that it's really frustrating. So we can kind of conjecture in a way what our kids are feeling, and to support them to feel felt and to feel heard by us, rather than sort of reacting to the behavior that we're seeing.
I noticed that you were I don't want to say putting words in the child's mouth, but you were trying to help them articulate what they might be feeling. So it doesn't do any good to go to a 7-year-old and say, tell me how you're feeling right now. Are you feeling anxious right now? It's not going to work. So you're saying, you're almost leading the witness in a way, but in a good way.
Exactly. And the key is that I'm being tentative. I'm not saying, oh, you are so angry. You're so sad right now. It's like, oh, I wonder, right? And so in this real tentative way, and it's so important. So one of my favorite authors and kind of teachers is Dan Siegel, who's written he's a child psychiatrist, written amazing books for parents, for teens. And he has this saying that he's coined, and this would be really good to remember right now: name it, you tame it. And what that means, so when we're feeling these really big emotions, the amygdala, the sort of alarm center in our brain, can get really overwhelmed and send us into fight, flight, or freeze. And the parents will likely relate to this, that say if this is our brain, when that happens, we flip our lid. That means blood stops flowing to the thinking part of our brain, and we kind of lose control of rational thought. And our kids do as well. So by naming a feeling, being able to name it helps to tame that, tame the amygdala. And the way I talk about it with my kids and kids I work with is it helps to give that part of our brain a hug. So then we can be more calm, and we can teach that to children at a really early age. It also works for adults as well. If we can name what we're feeling, oh, I notice frustration is arising. It actually decreases the activation of the amygdala.
Yeah. And you sort of take control in a matter of speaking, that you can control at least naming it.
You can control naming it, and you can just kind of bring your brain back online so that you can be more intentional with what you do next, rather than reacting out of fear or anger, as if you're being chased by a tiger, so to speak.
Now, Rose asked a question here, and my 6-year-old grandson talks to me on the phone, missing me, and says, I will see you in 3 weeks. How do you explain it may be longer? Now, it's not just Rose. How do you explain to your kids when they say, hey, I'm hearing on the news that May 14th and May 24th weekend, it's all open. Yeah. How do you talk to your kids about something as complex as this?
Well, we keep it simple, and we're honest, so that we're not making promises. And we can, there's a lovely psychologist from the 60s who talks about we can give children in fantasy what they can't have in reality. So really validating that and saying, you know, I hope I can see you then too. I would love to see you. We don't know yet what's going to happen, but we'll be staying connected. And as soon as we can, we will visit and we will see you. My children talk to their grandparents probably 3 to 5 times a week. And they do talk about that, and they wish. My children were so disappointed that they couldn't go and spend Easter with them. And so we acknowledge it, and we support them with the feelings. Yeah, sweetie, I imagine that's really disappointing. And it's okay for us to hope that too. I hope I can see you. And we are going to follow what public health, what the experts tell us to do to make sure that we are safe. And on May 2-4 weekend, let's plan something fun to do together, whether it's in person, if that's allowed, or over video.
Okay.
I know it's not the same. It's not the same, but can we plan that? I want to add one other thing, if this is okay, a big thing that's happening now for teens, when you were talking about marking and celebrating, is graduation. So I have a niece, actually she lives in Indonesia, but right now she's really sad because she won't have prom, she won't have graduation. Mm-hmm. And so what we are doing as a family is really working to support her emotionally of honoring and recognizing how significant this is. And that, it's really sad. And then finding some other ways to be able to celebrate.
Yeah. And so again, we as parents, we sort of have to be aware of every possibility of what might make our kids sad, anxious, and especially with teenagers, because at the best of times, a lot of teenagers clam up and you can't get anything out of them. Now they're struggling with stresses that would be great if we could help them out. How do you keep your teenager talking when they don't want to?
Well, this may sound sort of kind of counterintuitive, but not asking questions in a way like, how are you doing? What's going on? Tell me, to keep kind of statements so that you're welcoming communication, that it's not one-sided. Often we'll ask children, how was your day? But we don't tell them about our day. So, and then, we'll hear, oh, fine, or how are you feeling? And then we don't necessarily share, and of course in age appropriate ways. We're not wanting to share the heights of our worry and anxiety with our children. I'm not suggesting that, but so that it feels like a conversation and not an interrogation. Even if a teen or a child isn't wanting to talk, even kind of, again, guessing. I can imagine this is really challenging and you're really missing your friends right now. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm happy to listen. And if there's problem solving, so that you're working to keep that connection. And the thing about difficult feelings, like sadness or fear, is that there is this broad kind of belief and practice in our culture that if we talk about them, we'll make them worse. So if we just don't talk about them, then maybe they'll kind of go away and get better on their own. And it's the opposite, that we want to be able to give expression to those feelings so that we can offer support.
Carrie says, how do you get your teen to come out of the bedroom more? And, and for parents who may not realize maybe their kids are too young, once a teenager's bedroom is their kingdom and they will spend a lot of time in there. However, at this time, maybe it's not the healthiest thing to allow them to stay in their bedroom, or is it? What do you do?
So, I think it so depends on, there's not sort of a one size fits all. Right? That if that's been happening before this, then to think that right now we're going to change this may add some extra stress to that. So if there's certain rituals that you have set up in your home of connecting, whether it be around maybe having a meal together or something, that you continue on with those. And maybe even having a conversation of really wanting to find one thing that you might be able to connect about. One thing that maybe might be of interest to them as well.
I want to arm parents now. Now, Dr. Laura Markham, is it Dr. Laura Markham, right? It is.
Yes.
She has something that's called Stop, Drop, and Breathe. How will that help?
So this is something that we can practice right in the moment when we are maybe about to. We have a child, a teen, or maybe a partner who's having a tantrum in front of us, that we are going to react and pick up on those emotions. But if we can kind of help to stay grounded, then we're better able to respond, again, more intentionally rather than getting reactive. And so Dr. Laura Markham, she's written a book called Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids, and it's a really lovely resource. And so she has this handy acronym of Stop, Drop, and Breathe, something you can do right in the moment to help calm the amygdala. And the way that she talks about it, I want to share this quote, is deep breaths actually decrease the fight, flight, or freeze neurotransmitters. This gives our nervous system the message that it's not really an emergency. And so she says, if you're being chased by a tiger, you're not going to stop and take a deep breath, right? You're going to want to run away and get out of there. Mm-hmm. So that's how our body reacts to activate us to act in an emergency. But if we stop what we're doing, drop the content and the sort of looping storyline in our mind, and take, say, a deep breath or 3 deep breaths, it actually can help to calm our nervous system because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So could we do that?
Yes.
Right now?
Okay. All right.
Could we just stop what it is that we're doing? We don't try harder to keep doing what we're doing. We just, okay, stop. I was joking that I'll joke with people. I'll say to myself, just stop talking. Just stop. Just drop what it is that you're doing right now. And let's take 3 soft and deep breaths together. Nice long exhale.
It does a bit of diffusing, doesn't it? If nothing else, it creates just a little bit of a pause. It's not going to cure it. It's not going to solve it.
No.
But hopefully it'll let cooler heads prevail.
Yeah, and helps us to not be increasing the reactivity. If our child or teen is reacting and then we react on top of that, we're likely going to escalate. And so what we want to do is to be able to calm ourselves so that we can support to help calm the person with us. And telling someone to calm down doesn't work, right? It actually can be offensive. You can feel offended if someone says that. You need to calm down. It's rather, so say if my children need to take a deep breath, I will do it. I'll say, oh, I'm feeling I need to take a deep breath right now, and model that.
I mean, if we're having an argument with a significant other or a friend or something like that, the last thing we want to hear is calm down. So yet it comes out of our mouths talking about you need to calm down. Well, if it doesn't work with you, it's not going to work with them.
It's going to work. Yeah. And even the way that it's said, when we tell someone to calm down, it's almost like we're saying, I need to calm down because I'm feeling this. And then it comes out, calm down. Right? And someone's going to get defensive.
That's interesting. It's almost like we're talking to ourselves and we're realizing we need to calm down. I need to calm down. So you can do this stop drop. Even if it does, even if your kid looks at you and says, "What are you doing?" Even if you just say, "I'm just stopping. I'm just stopping." They may think you're weird, but you know what? You're teaching them something. You're showing them something. You're showing them how to take control.
Yes. And the way for kids to learn this is to see that we're doing it, and then when they see that it can have an effect on us, then they're more likely to buy into it rather than, oh, here's another thing that, my mom or that my parents are telling me to do. It's like, oh, I actually see that this makes a difference.
I wanted to go, I found it. Okay, Catherine had put this comment on before. They become nocturnal. And yes, we know that the older kids tend to stay up later. And I can vouch for that a young man who's in the same apartment as me,
Yeah.
and you say, and you keep saying, I keep saying to him, it's a little late. I mean, maybe you should think about going to bed. What should we do in a situation like that?
I mean, again, it's so, I think, family and routine specific that there's not sort of a here's one size fits all, but I think being able to talk about it and maybe even talking about what your concerns are, speaking to them kind of like not in a sort of, this is what I think you should do, but having a real open conversation around that. If you have had kind of limits before and expectations in the past, like before this happened, what about bringing some of those in now? So, for example, some families with whom I've been working have talked about, their teens are staying up. They are staying up later. However, what they're working on doing, and when I say working, it's a work in progress, right? So to really also cut ourselves some slack. Like, these are not typical circumstances and things are going to be hard. But what some families are doing is they may be limiting screen time or video games into the evening. And so the teens might be staying up later, but they're not on screens. So that's kind of a compromise. So being able to talk about these things in a non-reactive way, that maybe you can come up with some solutions together.
Okay, just for a second here, because I have to admonish my son. Okay, so you can watch this dynamic right here in front of you. You can't put comments on the air. You're in charge of the comments. You can't put the comments on the air. He put a comment on saying sleep is for the weak. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about something called a self-compassion break. What is that?
Right. So now I want to make sure that I give credit to two psychologists, Christopher Germer and Kristen Neff, who have developed a program called Mindful Self-Compassion, which is very, very now well researched. And so building on what Dr. Pat Rockman was talking about last night with mindfulness, this mindful self-compassion break, or the self-compassion break, brings in mindful awareness and then also intentionally brings kindness and care towards ourselves because we are struggling. And why this can be so helpful is that when we are really struggling, again, we can go into that fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when we bring compassion towards ourselves and towards others, it actually activates our caregiving system and it can help us to move out of threat mode. So I can teach this practice if we have time. We can do it really briefly.
Okay. Right.
When I remember, the key is to remember, right? When I remember, if I'm in the midst of a difficult interaction with one of my children, I will do this really quickly to just try and stop this threat mode that I'm in so that I can respond.
So essentially we're using this stop, drop, and breathe in this.
A little bit. Stop, drop, and breathe is kind of the first step. So can we give it a go?
Yeah.
We'll do it a go. So there's 3 steps to this practice.
Okay.
And if you just look up Christopher Germer, you'll be able to find it and you'll be able to find an audio too.
Okay, so set up the scenario we would use this in to begin with.
Okay. So what you would do is you would use this practice when you're noticing that you're having a difficult experience. So say sometimes I might use this with our 5-year-old when I'm getting really frustrated. I'm feeling like I might lose it. And I'm also needing to support her and to encourage some different behavior. Okay. But I'm getting really activated and I'm not going to be effective in that moment. So what I will do is this practice very quickly. So there's 3 steps. And the first step is to notice. We bring mindfulness and awareness to the fact that we're struggling. And we can say that to ourselves of, ouch, this hurts, or this is stressful. That we are really validating that this is a hard situation, because often we just kind of push through. So that's the first step.
Okay.
Awareness that, oh, this is hard. And then the next part, which I think we can so relate to right now, and is kind of the theme for your show, of this idea of common humanity. There is not something wrong with me that I'm finding this difficult. That anyone or many people in this situation would find this difficult. So we might say words to ourselves of, this is what it feels like to struggle in this way. Or there's not something wrong with me. Everyone has difficulties. So we're tapping into that sense of common humanity. We're not alone, that this is hard. And then the third part is we bring kindness towards ourselves rather than self-criticism. Because usually, or often, we're experts at being hard on ourselves and judging ourselves. So here, instead, we bring kindness. And there's a couple of components. And so one of them is to actually use our physiology, that a comforting, soothing touch activates the release of oxytocin. It's our caregiving system, and that can help us to soothe and comfort. So it might be a hand over your heart. You're saying with ourselves. To actually do it to ourselves, like we would with our children, right? We might stroke their hair.
Yeah.
If sometimes it can be hard to do this, we could even imagine the soothing touch of a pet as well. That we often try to solve and figure out challenging emotions with our mind, and we forget that we have a body. We have so many resources within our body. So if we can bring a touch and feel the warmth of our hands, that it may sound like, I know, it can sound kind of flaky, but it's backed up by neuroscience, right? Of this comforting touch. And then maybe offering some words of kindness to yourself of, wow, may I take care? Or what I'll often say is, in these difficult parenting moments, may I know I'm doing my best. May I know I'm doing my best. And you could imagine.
Okay, if I could interrupt, what if your answer to yourself is, I'm not? What if your answer to yourself is, I'm not doing my best. I blew up there. I was completely wrong.
Sure. May I give myself what I need? May I be kind to myself because I screwed up, right? Everyone makes mistakes. So why do we if you imagine a friend came to you and told you about this, what words of encouragement and kindness might you offer to them? And then could you offer that to yourselves? Because beating ourselves up for it isn't going to make it better. Actually, and research shows this, that when we are kind towards ourselves rather than critical, we're actually more likely to make significant and meaningful change. Beating ourselves up doesn't motivate us, but being kind does. So it's like, I'm doing the best I can, and I made a mistake, and I'm not going to see myself as a failure and as a bad person. It's that I can give myself some compassion that this is hard and I made a mistake. And when I do that, then I can move on and make better choices.
Okay, I'm going to review. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, this is great advice for parents, but this is great advice for anybody who finds themselves in a stressful or anxious situation. You could be a single parent. You could be a parent with no kids. You could be living by yourself. You get into conflict. So the first thing you do is you notice it. And we even talked about this earlier, about we've named something. You know, we have seen, okay, I notice that right now I'm feeling this, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to let ourselves know it's okay to feel this way. You're not saying it's okay to yell and scream and stamp your feet.
Yeah.
You're saying it's okay to feel this way. And then finally, comfort and kindness to ourselves. We're always wanting to try and alleviate someone else's stress and anxiety.
Sure. Yeah. So why not include ourselves in that, right? Include ourselves in wanting to be helpful and be caring of others.
And that's fantastic. Yeah. That is fantastic. So I wanted to talk about the future now, about we are coming now to the point where, I'm hoping we're halfway through isolation. I don't know. How do you keep this going then? How do you keep refreshing this?
Do you mean this practice or
Well, the
coping?
the practice, and
Because I'm going to
honestly,
tune into your show tomorrow to figure that out, right?
you know what? It could be for both. How do we stay fresh? How do we keep? You know, you can only say to yourself, "We're doing okay. We're doing okay." So much, right?
Well, I don't even know that I say to myself, I'm doing okay. You know, there was some communique or something that came out, I think specific to healthcare providers, and there was a tagline in it that said, it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I might say I'm doing the best that I can. And some days are okay. I feel okay. And some days I don't feel as okay. And I try to get some support around that in ways that I can. And also trying to kind of, you know, the cliches, but they do have a reason for being a cliche, but to take it kind of one day at a time, because I know my worries can take me far into the future, you know, into September, and wondering about that. And then that changes how I'm feeling now. So I'll notice, okay, there's worry, here's worry showing up, and I come back into the moment. And sort of giving myself a sense of knowing this is how it is for today. It doesn't mean it's how it's going to be tomorrow, and it's not how it was yesterday. And this is where compassion can be really helpful, and self-kindness. And there are some days where I think we're doing a really good job with what we're doing, and then there's other days where we could be doing things a lot better, right? And so we reflect on that and kind of begin again the next day. Mm-hmm. It's a process, right? We don't have a roadmap for this.
All right, Sara. I wanted to remind people of what you do. You've got 2 books out there. My New Best Friend, No Ordinary Apple. You also have I Am Told, a 3rd book in the works, yes. And your website, mindfulfamilies.ca.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I very much appreciate it, and I hope it isn't much longer, but I think you gave us some great advice.
Great, thank you. It was really lovely to be able to kind of practice together and talk tonight.
All right.
Be a part of a community.
Please come back again sometime.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sara Marlowe talking to us this evening. Bye-bye. It is, you know what? I'm going to wrap things up in just a moment. I think right now, we're going to take a quick break here, because now I have a commercial to run. Take it away, Willow.
My name is Willow. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut and go to all the planets. Jupiter, Mercury, Venus. I like to see Mars. Earth is my favorite. I built a spaceship to travel to the future. I learned if we stand aside, everything is going to be okay. Please stay home if you can. Try your best. Stay healthy and be kind to each other.
If you love Indian food but not the heavy oil and cream, Bowl of Karma is your answer. They cut down on many of the unhealthy elements so you can eat their food without guilt. I mean, look at this. This is how they cook their tandoori chicken. Bowl of Karma, 1036 Kingston Road, right at Vic Park. Order right now on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Foodora. And update from Lynn, no baby yet. All right, keep us posted, Lynn, and I want pictures as well for tomorrow. I've noticed a recurring theme in when we're talking about things to help us cope and with coping strategies. So whether we're talking about dealing with our own stress and anxiety, dealing with others, dealing with our kids, with our teens, whatever, we're hearing the same things from all these experts, aren't we? We're hearing the very first thing, the very, very, very first thing is stop. It gives us a chance to identify a mood, a feeling, what we're thinking. It gives us a chance from regretting something we might do. you stop. That's the very, very first thing. And you can also apply this to yourself. If you find yourself being overwhelmed and saddened, wanting to cry, feeling helpless, feeling alone, stop. That's the first thing we can do, is stop. Yes, it does sound rather easy. And that's why you need to do this as soon as you have a feeling like this come on. That's been my experience with anxiety attacks, is I can control no problem. As long as I realize as soon as there's a little inkling there might be one happening, I can control it no problem. So we need to learn to stop. In fact, isolation has almost been a good thing for us in this, when you think about this. It has forced us to stop. No, you're not going to go out shopping today. No, you are not going to go outside and get outside and go to the park or things like that, because you need to stop right now. So let's listen. Let's listen. Let's stop. Let's stop. Let's also remember what it was like to be a kid. Let's also remember how we thought our parents sometimes were unreasonable, even though they were probably trying to do what was best for us. It's tough to think like a kid again sometimes, and you hear yourself saying things that your parents said to you, and you said, "I will never say that to my child," but here we are. And speaking to any kids who might be watching out there, or teens, I know it can be tough, and I know that your whole life you have looked towards your parents, most likely, to solve your problems. That when you're scared, they comfort you. When things go wrong, they make it better. And so there might be a tendency to be extra hard on your parents because they're not doing anything for you right now, because they're not making this isolation go away. Just realize that they not only can't do anything with that, they're trying to keep life as normal as possible. Now they're responsible not only for working, for earning money, for keeping the house, but to make sure that your schooling continues. And that can be tough as well. Having said all that, there is no reason for physical abuse. And this goes for kids and teens, women and men. There is no reason, you didn't do anything to deserve any physical abuse. And those numbers on the screen are for you. So try and remember that. We're going to stop. We're going to drop, which means we're just going to just get down. And we're going to breathe. And then we'll see what happens. Then see what happens. Listen, it may not be a magical cure, but give it a try. You'll never know until you do. Very interesting show for tomorrow. Very important show for tomorrow. We are not only celebrating and supporting our frontline workers. So we're talking police, fire, paramedics, nurses, doctors. We're trying to remind them that they are only human as well. They are our superheroes in this isolation. However, they're only human. And they get worn down too, and they get affected by the same things we get affected by. In fact, there are many in our healthcare field and emergency services that aren't even sleeping in the same house as their family now because of social distancing. So now they've got to go out, keep a calm mind, in some cases race towards someone who's sick and they don't know what's wrong with them. So we're going to talk to some experts tomorrow from the emergency services with some good advice for our emergency services, for our frontline workers. You're only human. We can only expect so much. We thank you for what you do, but you too, once in a while, need to stop, drop, and breathe. And with that, I will bid you a good night. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Well, hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Well, hey, coronavirus, I want our life back. Time to see what happens. If I can... Hello. Hi, I'm back again. That's not supposed to happen, is it? Okay. Go away, the show's over. I feel like Ferris Bueller. Stop watching. Go do something.